evening. I know many of you are finishing eating, and please do so. But we're going to get festivities started here tonight. We want to welcome you all here to the 11th induction ceremony, especially for these 5 outstanding individuals to the Dover Westlake High School Hall of Fame. It has been a pleasure to be here once again, representing this organization since 1988. For those of you who don't know me, my name's Megan Ferry-Matu, class of 92. I was recently hired as the alumni coordinator for Westlake Schools. It's a new role for the district. They saw a need for it, and I was happy to be able to fill this position. I look forward to making our community, current students, and alumni informed, engaged, and excited about our alma mater. A little history here. The Dover Westlake Alumni Association was founded with the help of the Westlake Education Foundation. Those involved beginning this venture were outstanding graduates: Greg Foster, 66, Scott Thompson, 1960, Jane Pease, 1938, Louise Pease Winkler, 49, Ed Geiger, 43, Dell Youngless, 81, and Mary Beth Price Schneidler. They established with one goal in mind: to preserve the traditions of Westlake High School. Our current goal of the association is to build our membership so we can continue to award several graduating seniors a scholarship, continue our Hall of Fame inductions, revive traditions, and build community relations. Becoming a member is about fundraising along with your involvement. We are looking to bond our classes together to continue to bring spirit and pride to our alma mater. So please consider becoming a member if you aren't one already. Tonight we are celebrating the induction of 5 outstanding members into the Hall of Fame in the categories of Distinguished, Athletic, and Honorary. Planning this evening has been a group effort of a very hard-working committee. And if you could give Mike, Jeff, Mary Beth, Amy, Jimmy, and Dell a round of applause. And a very special thank you to Mary Beth for keeping it all together and keeping this night together and making sure that everything was all set. Side note, I was in charge of name tags, so I apologize. But there's been many partnerships with alumni recently to help revive, and one, I would be remiss not to say, the Westlake Athletic Boosters. They are a great partner with us, along with our athletic department. Tony Cipollone, our athletic AD. He has been a tremendous partner to our association, and at this time, I'm going to give him the podium.
Thank you, Megan. First of all, good evening, and thank you so much for coming out and celebrating the induction of our new class into the Westlake Hall of Fame. For those of you that don't know me, as Megan said, I am Tony Cipollone. I'm the Director of Athletics for the Westlake City School District. This is my 10th year, which is hard to believe. I am also a citizen of Westlake and a proud parent of 2 of our students. A freshman who's currently playing freshman football, so my phone's buzzing in my pocket. I had to leave at halftime, but he's a 3-sport athlete. And my senior, I'm going to give a shameless plug. He's going to be the male lead in the upcoming production of Oklahoma, so I'm excited about that. On behalf of the athletic department and our coaching staff, I want to welcome those of you that are alums back for this homecoming week. Hopefully a chance to reconnect with some people and maybe meet some new friends. I also wanted to congratulate our new inductees. What a wonderful class. Your accomplishments are unmatched, and this has been a really great time in the alumni organization. A big thank you to these people, as Megan said. Hard work. When I first got here, I couldn't believe that we didn't have a Hall of Fame. We had one, but we hadn't had an induction in like 7 years. So to get this back up and running, this is the 4th consecutive year that we've done this. It's just great. If you haven't been over to the high school and you haven't seen the Hall of Pride, I highly recommend just coming into the high school this weekend and checking out the Hall of Pride. I think you'll see some great things in there. So just tonight, at the end of last school year, I held a head coaches summit at my house. Majority of our head coaches were there. They were able to make it. I think the promise of free beer and a homemade lasagna dinner probably had a lot to do with it, but we had a great day. And we had a day to talk about what each of us envisioned a Westlake student, and in our case a student athlete and a coach, what they would be and what those core values were. And I'd like to just take a minute and just kind of run through those, because as I look at our inductees tonight, I think all of these people probably have these core values in their life somewhere. So I just want to run through it. I'm not going to give a big speech, but the first one is effort. And if you look at our inductees, the effort they have given to this district has been unmatched. 100% effort in anything they've done. Mastery. We always want our coaches and athletes to strive for excellence through repetitive practice and study and conditioning. And so, again, looking at this class, that goes for them as well. Discipline. You don't get to be a Hall of Fame member without discipline, without being able to balance the student and the athlete part, in our case, and all the other things that go into being a Hall of Fame member. And the selflessness. We tell our athletes we want the we before me. And again, being here tonight and sharing your stories with everybody, I think, contributes to that as well. Resilience. I'm sure that when our inductees get up here and speak, they're going to tell you about some hard times that they faced and some of the people in this room that probably helped them through those hard times. And so, as I said to Megan, I said, I wish some of our athletes could be here at some point and listen to some of our inductees. And hopefully we can get some of our Hall of Fame members to come back into our classrooms and talk to our students. Respect. We want our athletes and our coaches to respect everything that everybody does. The alumni organization, the booster organization, our administration, our central office, our board members, everybody, it's a team effort. It's a team effort in Westlake. Get the page here. Competition. I think whenever you get into a Hall of Fame, there's an element of competition. Not everybody gets to be a Hall of Fame member. And so these 5 inductees tonight have done some remarkable things and have competed at the highest level, whatever their field happened to be, and they got into the Hall of Fame. And I'm fun. I think you'll probably hear some fun stories tonight. We want our student athletes and coaches to have fun. And then the last one is pride. And what we say is we will honor Westlake while wearing the green and white and carry the Demon tradition with us after passing the torch. These 5 members have obviously done that. And so that's what this weekend and tonight's all about, is that pride. And these inductees, they're an example of the pride that we're talking about, and we're so happy you're here this evening. We hope you'll enjoy the parade tomorrow. We hope you'll enjoy the introduction of our Rose Arch members and our homecoming court, and we hope you'll enjoy the football game tomorrow night. At this time, I'd like to bring up our superintendent, Dr. Scott Goggin.
Good evening. On behalf of the Westlake City School District, I would like to congratulate Stephen, Molly, Kevin, Sharon, and Sarah for joining a prestigious group in our Dover Westlake Hall of Fame. As a school district and a community, we are proud of where we are. We're proud of where we are today, but we know that the success we have right now is built on the foundation that you laid before us. This event's one of my favorites. I obviously attend it every year, even though there's a lot of things going on in the district tonight. We have, I think, a volleyball game, we have a soccer game, and we have a band concert at the high school. This night is so important because of having all of you here, and we want to make sure we're here. We have our current inductees, our previous inductees, and many who have contributed so much to our schools and our community. I thank the Alumni Association for all the hard work that you've done to make this evening possible. There are great people in this group. I think back to when I first arrived to Westlake. One of my early meetings was with Mary Beth Schneidler. Her love and her dedication to our Dover Westlake alumni was passionate and contagious. As a school district, we're working to increase our support for our Alumni Association. Last year, we created an alumni director position, and we're fortunate to have Megan Mattu in that role. We are excited to strengthen and expand our relationships with our Westlake students, both past and present. It is you that makes us great. So once again, welcome and congratulations, both past and current inductees, and thank you to our Alumni Association. We are committed to supporting your growth and success. I hope everyone enjoys this special evening. Thank you.
I too would also like to thank everybody for being here, but I have a few special people to introduce. I'd like to begin, we've met Dr. Scott Goggin. We'd also like to introduce his wife, Michelle, who's been attending these nicely over the last couple years. We'd also like to introduce school board members Joe Kraft and Barb Lazinski, if they would stand or wave or something. So they also have been attending, most all of them, I think, over the last several years, and that's so nice to always have the support. And then also a first-time attendee that we have at our dinner tonight is Mrs. Susan Veracoyas, who was the former Westlake City Schools psychologist and principal of Bassett School. So we'd also like to welcome her. Our number of previous inductees is a little bit smaller this year. I've heard from most of them after we sent the invitations out, and unfortunately several of them are out of town. Some of them are getting way up in years, and it's very hard for them to get here. But we're also very appreciative for the ones that were able to make it tonight, and that is Mike Antonishin, Joe Schofield, George Christ, and myself. So if they would wave or... And then we don't want another special young man to be avoided or ignored or eliminated from our announcements, and that's Andrew Cerencioni, if I said that correctly, from WHBS. And I would like to share with everyone that his sister last year received the Westlake Alumni Scholarship, so that was a pleasure to be able to give that to her. And we hope she's doing well. And that brings us to the reason we are all gathered here tonight, the induction of 5 outstanding members. I will tell you that we're changing the order a little bit because we have a certain parent over here that has to get to an athletic event of her daughters, and I think everybody would understand that that's where she needs to be. So our first inductee, not as it's in the program, will be Kevin Hauser, who will be introduced by Megan Motu.
Well, I'm very honored to be announcing our Athletic Hall of Famer, Kevin Hauser, class of '96. Kevin not only excelled in high school, stood out in college, but also went on to play in the NFL. His good fortunes helped him to start foundations and to give back. You will find out this 6'2" giant is actually kind, humble, and intelligent. In high school, Kevin had many successes in football, basketball, and track. Not only was Kevin a talented athlete, he was an excellent student, well-liked, and knew how to make an impression. It should come at no surprise that he was homecoming king. Woo. A true honor from his peers. After graduation, Kevin became a Buckeye at The Ohio State. Kevin had lots of options not only for his athleticism, but his academics gave him great opportunities. Several Ivy League schools like Harvard, Princeton, and Yale were recruiting him, but he knew if he was going to play, that it should be on the same field as his father Tom, 69 to 72, and his brother Bob, 93 to 96. Or his wife would say he followed her to Ohio State. Kevin was a 4-year letter winner for Ohio State. He was a successful long snapper and a tight end. He graduated from OSU with a finance degree. His successful college career led him to being drafted in the 2000 NFL Draft to the New Orleans Saints. He stayed with the Saints for 9 years as a long snapper. His last couple of years, he was with the Seattle Seahawks and Baltimore Ravens. Unfortunately, not the Browns, but he did well. As his NFL football career was ending, Kevin, with his wife and their 2 children, began transitioning to living in Westlake. Kevin grew up with his parents, Tom and Shar, and his brother and sister in Westlake. Kevin met Kristen Mandrella in school, who would later become his wife. Kristen was older than him, so she went off to college, and as you know, he followed her there. They were married on the day he was supposed to get his college diploma, on request of his mother so that they would wait, or on request of her mother so that they would wait until he graduated from college. Well, technically, he didn't get his diploma because he was getting married that day. So I don't know if he really followed the rules, but he did get his diploma. They have 2 children, Julia, a junior at Westlake, and Michael, a sophomore. Kevin and Kristen enjoy watching, coaching, and supporting their kids with their athletics, Julia, a thrower, and Michael, a hockey and lacrosse player. Yes, there's other sports than football. But Kevin is in full support of that for his kids. When they first moved here, I remember selling them a raffle ticket. It was for one of our big fundraisers, and I told him I was selling them the winning ticket. And he goes, yeah. 2 weeks later, I had the pleasure of calling them and welcoming them home with a $1,000 raffle winner prize ticket. What makes Kevin a great Hall of Fame inductee is his ability to stay focused, humble, and kind. He sees a need for something and doesn't talk about it, he does it. Kristen and Kevin have been a part of many great organizations that help children and many others. A few of their Life's a Step fundraisers were actually held here at Wagner's. One of the more memorable auction items Kristen had was a football signed by Kristen's grandfather, Alex Verdova, Tom Hauser, Bob, and Kevin, 4 Ohio State players. That's one auction prize Kristen wishes she would have won. One thing Kevin noticed in Westlake was the need for youth football. He saw that the once very vibrant youth football that he played in was kind of dwindling down to a non-existent group. So he pushed up his sleeves, secured grants, and established the Westlake Youth Football Association. He is the founder, the first president, and was a coach, just to get the program off the ground. He stayed for a couple of years and left it in hands of other dedicated volunteers. In collecting information for Kevin, it would be easy to lace this speech with celebrities' stories for glamour, but that would not be a testament to who Kevin is. We all remember Hurricane Katrina and the damage it did to New Orleans and surrounding areas. Well, Kevin and Kristen will never forget. Kevin had to leave to go to Houston for a game. Kristen and the kids, at the time they were 1 and 2, and the family dog caravanned in terrible weather to Houston. Many families stayed at Reliant Stadium in Houston from New Orleans. Kevin took his family to the stadium and took orders from families on what they needed. Kevin purchased hundreds of socks and underwear for many families in need. They found out later that socks and underwear are the most under-donated item because they need to be new. Talking with Kristen, she knows Kevin will agree that this was the most humbling experience to be a part of. One of the coolest things that the NFL is that it put him and his family in a position to help people in need. Kevin is currently a pilot. Kevin earned his flying credentials at the tail end of his football career. He has always had a passion to fly since his first flight with his father. He is a recruiter and trains new pilots for Commute Air. He not only fulfilled one dream of being in the NFL, but he is fulfilling a second by being a pilot. I've only scratched the surface of this wonderful person, as you can imagine, that I know he possesses every trait imaginable to be a Hall of Famer. Please join me in congratulating Kevin Hauser, Athletic Hall of Fame member.
Everybody, thank you very much for this. Thank you and congratulations to everybody else who's also inducted this year. A couple corrections.
Uh-oh.
Oh, yeah.
I'm blaming someone else.
Well, don't forget, Kristen drove me to driver's ed. We're talking about adversity. I see Mrs. Sillenberg over here. I got one of my B's in high school because I wasn't able to type. I wasn't able to put my finger at the right spot when I was. So it is fun to be back and to see everybody. So adversity, overcoming it. Every time I type too, and I think about it, I use my pinky finger for the wrong thing, and I'm like, Mrs. Sillenberg's looking over my shoulder right now. But no, there's, when you start talking about all of this, I think that it's absolutely fantastic to see everybody. I see people from church. I see people, of course, I've got my wonderful family here, my kids, unless you're able to, muster up a snow day for them tomorrow. They've got a couple tests and things to get going to also. So I'll try and keep it short-winded, but with everything, I didn't realize that I was going to be talking, so I'm just going to try and keep it simple. I think that there's a little bit of a mistake here because this isn't about me and the things I was able to do. I look at my family, I look at the wonderful people in the back, and without being put in the perfect situation, I was just another guy. I look at my in-laws, my wife, my best friend Matt. Try and figure this one out. We live 2 miles away from each other, and I see him probably, once every 10 years. It's just nuts. But he showed up to surprise me. And so I think that what you see with all this is that this isn't about me. You know, this is about my family. This is about my upbringing. This is about the people of Westlake and the way things were. You know, the coaching staff. I think that when you look at the things that Coach Long put together, I think that if anybody should be honored tonight, it should be you, Coach. I think that the different things that you were able to do, hey, this might shock you, but I was, in my 4 years at Westlake, I won 12 games. I won 12 games, and because of the things that my parents, my family, the coaching staff that's sitting back there, I look at, you know, we start with Deli, we got Coach Reimuller, we've got Coach Schofield back there. Heck, Scott, I mean, I remember going to your games. You know, back in the day when they used to throw out those little white footballs, those plastic footballs from Dean's greenhouse, we always were trying to catch those. But it is funny because you look back at that group sitting back at that back table, and that's a group of people that really took over for when my parents left us off at school and said, we're putting you in somebody's hands. These are the people that were able to develop me, you know, put me in the position to succeed. And I was able to capitalize off that. I often wonder, you know, with our teachers, I think back to, I mean, heck, this might be something most of you guys might not even know. I think of one of our music teachers, Mr. Benz. He was a perfectionist. He always expected perfection. I might think it's weird that I'm talking about a choir teacher because that's the only time I sound good singing is when I'm in the shower, and then, you know. But yeah, you look at the way that he was always going after perfection. The different people that were able to be there to help us along the way. I already called out Ms. Sillenberg for giving me a hard time. Boy, oh boy, that's still getting to me. But the other teachers that I had throughout my life, you know, when I was at Westlake, without them, without the support of Mr. Christ back in Parkside. Oh yeah. Boy, those are some good old days. But you look at that. I had Mr. Miller as an ecology teacher. You know, and just to have the different experiences. And it's great when I'm walking through here tonight and I'm seeing my parents walk up to teachers that I had in the past and they're giving them hugs and saying hi, calling them by name. And I hope that in the future, as Westlake continues to evolve and continues to move forward, that we're providing that for the kids that are going through now. So with that being said, I do want to thank everybody. Thank you, Mr. Bowles and Mr. Ant. I never got to work for Mr. Ant over the summer. Coach English took me out power washing, but yeah, no. And then Mr. Bowles, again, going back to Parkside, I was there when his beeper went off for his firstborn. So it is neat. It's neat to go back, reminisce about everything. But to my family, thank you, love you all. You guys have been wonderful. Gave me a wonderful opportunity. Everybody else that's here tonight and that's been part of this whole journey. Without you, this would just be some guy up here talking, rambling on about absolutely nothing. So I do appreciate it. Thank you so much. Congratulations to everybody else.
Thank you. Congrats. All right, and at this time, I'm gonna introduce Del. He's gonna introduce our next inductee. Everyone have a great night. Thanks for having me tonight. Go Demons!
My name is Del Younglis. Let's see if I can get this without having to bend over too much. I graduated in 1981. 3 younger sisters that also graduated Westlake. My parents also graduated from Westlake High School in 1959. We're just in town a few weeks ago to celebrate their 60th high school reunion. So we have a long history. My grandparents built a house on Dover Center Road at 3700 back in the late 40s, and it still stands. My oldest sister and her family live there today. I'm here to introduce our next distinguished alumni recipient, Steve Schill. Over the past 35 years, Steve has established himself as a preeminent residential architect in Northeast Ohio with an impressive resume that includes a vast array of spectacular homes. Ever since Steve was little, he instinctively knew he wanted to design great works of architecture. Steve grew up in Westlake and attended Westlake School starting at Holly Lane all the way through Westlake High School. He took Mr. Schallenberger's drafting classes, which I also took, and I remember being in class as a year behind Steve when we were there trying to get our projects done. And these classes helped him hone in on his design and drawing skills. These technical drawing classes are still part of the curriculum and are called technical drawing and design. Steve graduated in 1980 and began his college career at Kent State University, where he pursued a Bachelor of Architecture and a Bachelor of Science degree. Steve's mom and dad, who are with him tonight, saw a spark in Steve's passion for architecture, so they both worked hard to save for his college education. Steve's dad, Herb Schill, always had an incredible work ethic that he passed on to Steve. The year prior to graduation, Steve also studied classical architecture at Villa Schifanoia in Florence, Italy. While studying abroad, he was strongly influenced by his professors to follow his dreams of becoming a residential architect. In the fall of 1988, Steve passed his state board exams and became a registered architect in the state of Ohio. These state exams were very difficult, especially for someone just 2 years out of college. Back in the day, the State of Ohio Architectural Board exams were held in Columbus and were a series of 9 exams administered over 5 days. Steve passed all parts of the test and became a licensed architect in the state of Ohio, and as they say, the rest is history. In 1991, Steve established Schill Architecture, LLC, and worked out of his home for a short time before moving to a modest office in North Olmsted and then eventually to his current offices in Westlake. During the 90s, he began designing luxury homes in Westlake for clients in Chairman's Row, Land's End, and Cornerstone. Steve's passion for design and pushing the envelope in both traditional and modern design led him to design many luxury multi-million-dollar lakefront estate homes throughout the greater Cleveland area, including several that you've probably driven by and maybe even stared at in awe along the lakeshore in Rocky River, Bay Village, Avon Lake, and around the Lake Erie Islands, including Vermilion, Bay Point, and Marblehead. Schill Architecture, Steve's company, has been recognized as one of the top residential architecture firms in North America on the Bond Custom Top 100 list. This honor is proof that if you work hard and love what you do, a small town boy from Westlake, Ohio, with big aspirations and a strong will can accomplish anything. Along with excelling in his professional career, Steve also takes great pride in his family and community. Steve and his wife Nancy, also a graduate of Westlake High School, have been married 32 years and have lived and raised their family in Westlake. Nancy joined Schill Architecture in the early 2000s and handles a multitude of tasks, including office coordination and financial management. Steve and Nancy have 2 children, Stephanie and Robert, who are also both graduates of Westlake High School. Stephanie Hayden, who is here with her husband Howie, followed in her father's footsteps and took technical drawing classes at Westlake, and after high school graduated with her Bachelor of Art in Architecture from Miami University and her Master of Architecture from Kent State. Stephanie became a licensed architect in the state of Ohio and is employed at Schill Architecture. Steve and Stephanie collaborate on various projects throughout the area. Steve and Nancy's son, Robert, who unfortunately was not able to join us tonight, also took a couple technical drawing classes at Westlake High School, but decided to pursue a major in business. He graduated from AM University in May 2016 with a dual degree in finance and accounting. He began his career in New York City and is currently working at a private investment firm in Chicago and has plans on obtaining his master's degree in business. In 2006, the Westlake Town Crier selected Steve and his wife Nancy as Mr. and Mrs. Westlake in honor of their outstanding service to the community. From 2000 to 2016, Schill Architecture sponsored the Model Home Design Contest at the Home and Garden Show in Cleveland, a competition for local high school students interested in architecture and design. Steve has also enjoyed mentoring high school students from Westlake and nearby West Shore suburbs, and even as far away as East Cleveland. Steve estimates that for the past 20 years, he has mentored over 250 high school juniors and seniors. These are the types of things we look for in determining who we think should be singled out as a distinguished alumni for Westlake High School. Someone who is not only accomplished in their own right, but also takes the time and makes the effort to give back to the community, especially their hometown. And Steve is obviously a shining example of this. I'd like to introduce you to Mr. Steve Schill.
It's a big resume. I guess I'm getting old and I've done a lot and I didn't even realize it. You're the architect of your own life, design a masterpiece. That's the quote I had put on my plaque. It's something that I've lived and I believed in since I was 8 or 9 years old. That's the time that I decided, hey, when I grow up, I'm going to be an architect. Tony Cipollone, please cover your ears. That's also the time I realized I had zero aptitude in sports. So I started playing with Legos and designing things, and I had a whole lot of fun with that. And I grew up, and I said, or I thought, if I grow up and I can do this for a living, how fun would that be? I moved on to Westlake High School, and I was a little bit of a shy kid there. So I spent a lot of time in Mr. Schallenberger's drafting class. I designed houses. I had a whole lot of fun doing it, and I spent a lot of time there. Mr. Schallenberger was a big influence in my life. He taught me a lot about construction. He taught me to develop my love for design, and he even encouraged me to get a job with an architecture firm when I was 15 years old. That was no small accomplishment for a kid who spoke very softly, and I was afraid to make eye contact with people. Well, I got the job, and life started moving really quickly. Graduated from high school, graduated from college, married my wife Nancy, became a licensed architect. Started working, and I was about 2 years into it, and I didn't like working for somebody. It was getting kind of old quickly. That design a masterpiece thing kept nagging in my head. Right after Nancy and I found out we were going to be parents to Stephanie, I started thinking about I should really start kicking my dreams into gear. Started writing a business plan, and I wrote it for a long time, and I edited it over and over and over again. Well, a year went by, Stephanie turned 1, and I realized, much like sports, I was really horrible at writing business plans. So I just decided to just jump right in. And I remember the look on my dad's face when I told him I was going to start my firm. Nancy and I had a 1-year-old daughter. I had 0 business experience. I had no money in the bank, and I was going to quit my job. He probably thought I lost my mind. The next few years, they were kind of tough. I mean, we ate dinner at my mom and dad's house a lot. And Nancy was always there to tell me things were going to be okay when they weren't going okay and my business plan was failing. By the time our son Robert was born, things started kind of heading in the right direction. A few years after that, we started our building company that gets to design these beautiful houses that we build along the lake that Nancy runs. At that point, I looked back and I said, you know what? I think I fulfilled my childhood dream. I grew up. Nancy will debate me on that, but I did. I design and I build things, and I get paid for it. It's not a bad thing. I think I personified how fun all of this can be. As Dell mentioned, Stephanie became a registered architect. She married my son-in-law Howie. He's a registered architect. So all these dominoes were starting to fall according to my plan. And they hit a wall when Robert stepped into the picture. He chose a career on Wall Street. I don't even know what he does, but he's very happy and he's creating his own masterpiece. And he doesn't bug me for money anymore. I think I summed it up best a few weeks ago. One of our clients was in our office and I said, you know what? I said, I think I hit the lottery without ever buying a ticket. After 30 years, I go to work. Everybody will tell you, I go to work at 5:30 in the morning. I can't wait to get to work each day. I love what I do. I get to work with my family. I think I designed my own masterpiece. Thank you.
I would like to introduce Mr. Jeff Chase, who is going to introduce you to our next recipient.
Congratulations to all of the inductees. We're very proud of you and very proud that you are part of the Demon family. And to pick up on what you said, Steve, this is a masterpiece when you get to meet people like you. Congratulations. Tonight we celebrate the wonderful Demon tradition of recognizing those graduates who have gone on to foster the investment in excellence that each teacher, coach, and administrator has devoted their careers to. Sharon Chase Green, class of '85, is yet another example of that very Demon tradition of excellence. Sharon's career began on a small scale, opening her own daycare center in which she enrolled children with autism. Her passion for helping those with disabilities led Sharon to earn degrees from Seton Hill University. Upon completing those degree programs, Sharon opened 14 specialized private schools across the state of Pennsylvania for children with autism. Amazing. Sharon then became the executive director of NHS Schools, which has schools across the states of Pennsylvania, Michigan, and Louisiana. Currently, Sharon works with Achieva as a therapist in behavioral health. Achieva works to ensure those with disabilities have the same opportunities that you and I have. Finally, Sharon was trained through Clemson University as a nationally certified trainer for bullying. Sharon trains school personnel across the nation in bullying prevention for children and adults with developmental disabilities. There are two experiences that I think formed Sharon's love of helping others. The first, as a Demon student, Sharon worked with Mike Antonishan as a wrestling scorekeeper. Mike was recently inducted into the Westlake Hall of Fame, and his career as a mentor, a coach, and a special education teacher, I'm sure, influenced Sharon. Secondly, Sharon, as I said, started her own daycare center, and there she met a student named Abby, and Abby had an assortment of disabilities. I had the good fortune of meeting Abby a number of years ago. Over the course of many years, Sharon has taught this young lady skills that you and I consider automatic. And to this day, Sharon still cares deeply for Abby. Sharon is an amazing person. She's my crazy niece, and I welcome her to the Westlake Hall of Fame.
So he didn't tell me I had to talk tonight. So I asked him if I could have that speech, and he wouldn't give it to me. So I do want to thank the Westlake Alumni Association for everything and for tonight. Last year I was going to be here and I couldn't be here. My son, and we talk a lot about sports. My son last year, he was a senior last year in high school, and he was just nominated the captain of the football team. And we waited and waited for this moment. And my husband and I got in our car and we went to the first scrimmage, and we were like, it's time, it's his senior year. And 8 plays in, he blew his knee. And it was his meniscus, his ACL, and his MCL, and he wasn't released till March of last year. So I said to my uncle, Jeff, I can't come. You know, I have to be with my son. And then they said, don't worry about it. We're just going to move it till next year. Thanks. So thank you. And I'm here this year. He's great. He's at Slippery Rock University now in Pennsylvania, and he's doing great. It was nice hearing you all talk about different aspects. So I want to kind of talk about that too, and I want to talk about sharing stories about Westlake. Mr. Antonician. First thing I said to him when I saw him was, where's Miss Glass? Miss Gladden. I'm sorry, Miss Glass. I saw her last year. Miss Gladden. She was a special ed teacher in Bernison, and he was a great wrestling coach. I loved doing wrestler ed for him. But his wife really was what I wanted to see her, but she's not here. So it was great to see you. But she was a special ed teacher, and at that time it was all about not inclusion. It was about self-contained classrooms, and she had that. And she had that classroom, and although it was self-contained, all the kids that Miss Gladden had were included. And that didn't happen back in 1984, in 1983, and 1986. It happens now because it's a law. But it wasn't the law back then, and Miss Gladden did that. And that's where I kind of met a lot of students that I really fell in love with. And you weren't married yet, you guys were dating. But it was really cool to have that. And I think that's where it all started for me, was please tell your wife that. I was really hoping to see her tonight. And then I did Wrestlerette, and my best friend Sharon is here, and she's been my best friend since 7th grade, and she's still my best friend. She lives in North Olmsted, and I live in Pennsylvania now. Yes, I'm a Steeler fan. I apologize. The year that the year that you guys moved to Baltimore, I moved to Pittsburgh, so it's been kind of hard, and that's when my dad didn't like me anymore. But he always loved me. So that was kind of neat, but it was nice. Mr. Schofield, where are you? Right there. He was my teacher. He taught me how to drive. I got here tonight. Thank you. And where's Mr. Christ? Please tell. There you are. Thank you. You don't remember me, but I remember you. So thank you for all the wonderful work you did in Westlake. I think that was really neat. I'm going to go to my notes. I want to thank my husband, who's not here because we have 3 dogs. We have Hungarian Vizslas that have to be taken care of at all times. So we talked about respect. Somebody talked about respect tonight. I want to talk about competition a little bit. The element of competition. Yes, in Westlake, and especially in 1985, it was huge, and I lived for competition, and I loved to run. I ran everywhere. I ran from my house to school. I ran from my house to my best friend's house. I ran from my house to everywhere. I ran everywhere. I don't know if anybody remembers the Dietrich family, but Bill Dietrich was my coach for track. Pam Dietrich was my idol. She's passed away. She graduated in '83. She was my idol. Like, this girl could do everything. So the Dietrich family, you're not here, but if anybody knows the Dietrichs, let them know that I'm thanking them. They made competition very, very good for me. Then I go to my family. So I want to thank my family. So my husband's not here. My daughter lives in Philadelphia, and she's an athlete as well. My son is going to Slippery Rock, and he still doesn't play football, but he loves lacrosse and he loves basketball. And then my uncle keeps me going wherever he is because he's a football coach still, and he will always be a football coach. And his lovely wife, Tommy. So I want to thank everybody tonight, and I'm so honored to have this award. Thank you.
It's my pleasure to introduce Mary Beth Schneider, class of 1970.
I wasn't going to say this, but there's a few of us here tonight. If you take 70 and you add a certain number of years to it, next year becomes quite the class reunion for us, which we're trying to plan. So I'll get the word out tonight. If any of you know of any graduates from the class of 1970, please spread the word that we're working on it. We're trying to get everybody together. I have to say that it's a great pleasure of mine tonight to be able to introduce a female athlete. People that know me know that athletics has been a big part of my entire life and still is. And I had the pleasure of coaching many sports at Westlake High School. But tonight, the person that I'm going to introduce, I first met in the 3rd grade at Bassett School when I was teaching at Bassett. And I thought, where do I begin to introduce Molly? When I first met her, she was about this tall, and her determination, her athletic skills, and everything that she showed in that feisty years of being at Bassett never left her. And you could honestly look at her at that time and say, boy, this girl's going to go somewhere, or else someone's going to break her. She's going to just keep moving on, and by golly, she did. Her high school days at Westlake were absolutely remarkable. As I was looking over the things that she accomplished, I don't know how she studied, because she was in every sport you could imagine, grueling sports, and every time she did something, she did it fabulously. She was the Ohio State pole vault champion in 2006. She earned 12 letters during her high school career in cross country, swimming and diving, and track and field. She was always in the top 3 when she was competing in each of her sports. Think about that. Track, diving, swimming, pole vaulting, incredible. They don't really all fit together, but she did every one of them, and she did them outstanding. She participated in many sectionals, regionals, district tournaments. I could go on each one of her 4 years and say she was at this sectional and that district, and they competed here and they went there. Again, I don't know how her family kept up with all that she was doing. I did happen to know her mom and dad too from those years back at Bassett, because they were a great family when she was attending Bassett Elementary. She set new school records in the pole vault at Westlake High School and earned many, many awards. Each of the 4 years, she had a new record for the Westlake pole vault. Molly also competed in the National High School track meet. She was then awarded an athletic scholarship and graduated from Austin Peay University in 2010 with a bachelor's degree in biology. She currently holds the record at Austin Peay University in the pole vault. And I'd like to have you guess, because back in high school it was around 10 feet, 10, 11 feet, I think. And by the time she got to Austin Peay, she was at 13 feet, 7.5 inches. That's quite an accomplishment. I believe the record is still there at Austin Peay University. Quite an accomplishment. She was also the MVP in college in 2009 and 2010. Her senior year at college, she was ranked 7th in the nation in the pole vault. Then she started getting down to serious business. She went back to school for her bachelor's in nursing and has been a registered nurse at Fairview Hospital for the past 7 years. She then continued her education and received her master's while working full-time. And in the middle of this, if any of you saw her last winter, she also delivered a baby. So that added a little bit to it, her first baby. And she graduated from Ursuline College this past May. She passed her family nurse practitioner certification in August. Molly was married to Daniel McCahey in 2014, and I have to share with you that she told me that she only pole vaulted once in one of the events because she had to get to his prom. So she left. What kind of a priority is that? But as you can see, it turned out fabulous on both their parts. They were married in 2014. Molly and was married in 2014 to Daniel, and they currently live in Strongsville. Now, I don't know if Daniel knows this, but Molly shared with me that she really wanted to live in Westlake because she'd been here her whole life, just like I've been here my whole life. But they couldn't live in Westlake, so they decided that they needed to be in a Division I school. So they went to Strongsville. Now, I don't know how that speaks for their son, Colin, who was born April 1st. Molly, I was trying to figure out something really cute to say about April 1st other than it was April Fool's Day. What can I say? So I'm hoping that Colin can continue with the athletic excellence, of course, that his mother had. I don't know about Daniel. I wasn't shared that information, but I'm sure with two fine parents like that, he'll just enjoy every minute of athletics that he can. Molly has certainly lived up to the phrase she chose for her plaque. It reads, "To be the best, compete against yourself, and be better than you ever thought you could be." A lot of thought went into that, and you've heard that same strand going through each of the inductees tonight. They had goals. They did everything they could to achieve them. They weren't necessarily goals that they just wanted to reach for themselves. Many of them have helped, all of them have helped in other ways. But I thought when Molly put that for her plaque, that was a terrific way to explain Molly. I'd also like to welcome her mom and dad that are here. Knowing them for so long, there couldn't be a prouder parent. Her mom worked for the district, and if you ever went to Clay Park Pool, she was the one holding down the fort in the cold area where you had to sell the tickets, and it blew like you were at the North Pole. But she was always there. A lot of us got to meet her in that way, too. So Molly certainly exemplifies what it means to be a member of the Athletic Hall of Fame at Westlake High School. Congratulations, Molly.
I didn't know that we were supposed to have a speech, so I also took public speaking online, so there's that. I just want to thank Mrs. Schneiler for my speech. It sounds like I did a lot more than I think I did, but and my parents, they drove me countless times, countless hours, and I don't know how they did it, split up with 4 kids, but I just owe them the world, so thank you so much. And my coach, Coach Rourke, he was actually the coach at Amherst, but he took me under his wing. I'm the product of people who have really big hearts. I don't think I would be here without them. So he took me under his wing, and he taught me everything I knew. He stayed with me in college, and I would just keep coming back to him, and he would get me to the next height and the next goal. So we had a great run together, so thank you so much. And that's it. I'm sorry, I don't like speeches, so I can't. And my husband, thank you.
We didn't mention that each one of the inductees receive a lifetime pass to all the events in Westlake. So whether it's a athletic event or anything that's going on in Westlake, you just can proudly walk up and show your little pass, and they'll look at you and they'll say, "Oh, okay." I can honestly say that all the gatekeepers don't have an idea about him, but that's what the pass is that the inductees received tonight. And each one of their plaques, which are up here, we'll hope you'll come and look at them before you leave. They will be put on display at the high school in the Wall of Fame, as Tony explained to us earlier, which is absolutely beautiful. And if you do go there and you see something missing, please let us know, because we're still trying to round things up. There's a lot of things there that in the move and over the years that have been shuffled around a little bit, but it's very, very nice. So our next inductee is going to be introduced by the famous Mike Antonician, who you've already heard about.
I'd like to thank everybody for coming in tonight. It's really good to share all these special awards for all these people that have gotten inducted to this year's class. I got the honor to introduce Sarah Bernison. Yes, the name Bernison is well known in Westlake. Her father-in-law was the superintendent of Westlake, and just an outstanding family. It's a privilege to me to talk about Sarah and in the next as a next Hall of Fame inductee. When I was a new special ed teacher at Westlake, Sarah was a reading specialist, a mentor, a friend, and a wrestling parent. It was very helpful for me as a new teacher. I want to thank you, Sarah, for all those helps. And I mean, from the M&Ms, from all the things that you did for me as a wrestling coach, it was just great. And all her kids were outstanding. Her kids couldn't be here tonight, Lisa, Lee, and Eric. So I asked them to put together a couple words of some comments for tonight's ceremony. From Lisa, a memory I have of my mom while she was teaching is that she would carry a heavy box covered in contact paper to make it more durable back and forth from the classroom to home. This box was full of schoolwork, papers and tests to be graded, lessons to be learned, and books and curriculum to be reviewed. There were times that Lee, Eric, and I would be set up at the dining room table trying out new reading materials. I was pretty sure I wasn't always enthusiastic about that, but I benefited from having a mom who's an educator. She is always determined to be there when curriculum and tools were available for every teacher to be used in their classroom to develop and increase the reading comprehension skills of their students. Just like the glass is half full instead of half empty, Mom always had a positive in, and her box was always full. That was from your daughter, Lisa. From Eric, there are so many things Mom did to support Westlake and the schools. One thing that I remember is she was the go-to speechwriter. For friends, while they had to address their fellow graduates at graduation. Bill, you told me about this. I don't think Lisa, Lee, or I ever had a graduation speech, but I think she had to write at least 2 that I know of, and maybe more. When Bill Bowles and Joe Gallagher decided they used some guidance in their preparing remarks for their classmates at commencement, they thought out the most thoughtful and eloquent person they knew. As a busy mom, at the end of the school year, she worked with them through multiple drafts that helped them close out the high school on a high note. And it was really cool today, when I was talking to Bill, he came up to me and he goes, Sarah helped me with my speech at commencement. And I said, oh, really, Bill? I said, I didn't know that, And I said, so please, afterwards, let's talk about that. So, Bill, I didn't want to wreck this, but Eric said that, and it was kind of neat. Now, from Lee, having grown up under my mom's tutelage and having benefited from her parent guidance, I knew the same traits I admire are what so influence people in a professional career. Our mother, a teacher, a reading specialist, and a school administrator, is known for her compassion, commitment, dedication, and her innate ability to evaluate issues and express her opinion in the firm and fair manner. Mom, we are proud of your accomplishments and honored by the recognition you are receiving from the community. We love you. Educators like Sarah gives teachers the energy and enthusiasm to maintain a positive attitude towards teaching. I know she did for me, so thank you, Sarah. Sarah Burnson.
Being somewhat suspicious, I asked Mike about 15 times, am I going to have to talk? And he said yes, so I did prepare something.
That's what we should have done to everybody. I didn't throw Sarah under the bus.
44 years ago, we experienced a seismic change in public education. No, it wasn't Mike, although he was impressive. It was Public Law 94-142, the Education for All Handicapped Children Act, passed in 1975, and later renamed the Individuals with Disabilities Act. Prior to this legislation, 4 out of 5 children with disabilities were excluded from public education. In Westlake, our Director of Pupil Services, Susan Veracoyo, who's been introduced previously, led the way in bringing the district into compliance. The legislation included requirements that each special education student have an individual educational plan, an IEP, and that the plan be provided in the least restrictive environment. The standards called for students to be educated with their peers to the extent possible. Mainstreaming. Everyone was very concerned about how all this would work. This established huge new responsibilities for teachers, and especially for special education teachers. Westlake had a terrific crew. Fred Jennings at the high school, Mike and Sue Aninishin, who wasn't Sue yet, Aninishin yet. She was Sue. And the junior high level, Martha Efta Bober and Cindy Crockett at the elementary. Describing and testing and documenting each student's progress and formulating new learning objectives as prior ones were met now had to be done in writing on an individual educational plan for each special ed student. That was one of the places I could help. That's where the M&Ms for Mike came in. I was already working with our federal and state-funded programs, Title I and DPPF. That stands for Disadvantaged Pupil Program. These programs provided additional instruction in reading and math to elementary students who were below grade level. I was also working district-wide with the language arts curriculum. Now it was important to find resources that facilitated developing IEPs. Another important aspect of the new law was that we needed additional teachers, and a learning disabilities category had been created, and the universities, recognizing the need, had geared up fast-track programs so that previously certified teachers could get an LD certification. I did some vigorous recruiting of people I believed would be excellent LD teachers. Two of those who accepted the challenge and proved me right about their gifts are represented here tonight: Joyce Nichols and Ruth Mishlick. Joyce is represented by her husband, Les. Sadly, Joyce passed away last January. Ruth is here with her husband, John, a Westlake alum from the class of 1949. That Dover High School class of 1949 gets special mention because my husband, Greg, now deceased, was one of John's classmates. My fantastic colleague who served Westlake as Director of Pupil Services and also did double duty as principal at Bassett is also here, as was pointed out before. And I need to mention, I thought I would need to mention, but I don't, because she's short and you might not have seen her, but Kevin took care of that for me, that Kay is a former Westlake teacher. Kay Sillenberg is also here, a wonderful friend through the years. And I'm going to embarrass two younger friends, even though they're taller than I am, it is so special they could be here when my three kids who would have liked to have been here but couldn't make it, could not. These two are longtime family friends and Westlake alum. Julie Wang Warren, sitting right here, class of 1988, and Tom beside her, class of 1982. Before I close, I have to share another memory. Many years ago, our group of friends was together, and Les Nichols was telling us about having to pull off the road in an inconvenient place because of a flat tire. He was working on it with cars whizzing by when a car stopped and a muscular young man emerged to give assistance. The young man was Kevin Hauser. The account of this incident stuck in my mind because this young person that I didn't know personally, but knew of as an outstanding athlete in a sport that called for a high degree of toughness, was also obviously thoughtful and kind. What a wonderful blend of attributes. It is very special to be part of the 2019 Hall of Fame induction and become an honorary Dover Westlake alum.
I'd like Sarah to read her quote.
Okay, mine is by Mahatma Gandhi. Be the change you want to see in the world.
Pretty cool. Jimmy's going to do the closing.
Good evening. My name is Jim Leach, and I'm the newest member of the Alumni Board, and I think that's why I get to close. A couple of comments that I wanted to share. First of all, appreciate Dr. Coggins and the school board members being here, and I really appreciate, I know the board does, and we all should as alumni, your commitment to Megan to allow her to be a full-time person or person paid to move the Alumni Association forward. And I would just say to you, being on a new member, we're committed to really moving the Alumni Association forward. I think Tony appreciate it, and I think we're going to work closely with boosters and your department to move it ahead. In the short period of time that we've been on the board, there's a lot of things that have been happening, and we need everybody in this room to pass the word that the Alumni Association is really going to grow and move forward. Many of us don't live in Westlake any longer, but I think Demon Pride has no geographic boundaries. That's right. So I look forward to, I appreciate everybody being here tonight. I look forward to everybody being here next year and bringing 5 of your friends so we can fill the back of the room all the way to the back, or maybe even move across the hall to a bigger room. and just look forward to things from the Alumni Association. So thank you very much and have a great evening.
I debated whether we would be able to do this year. Tom Hill has always been at every one of the events we've held, and he's had just a terrible last 6 months of health issues. He's been in and out of the hospital, and he's really struggling, and he's not as mobile as he was. He just recently turned 91, so if you know Tom, his energy never waned, but his ability to be able to do what he wanted to do has. And he always closed this with the alma mater. And he called me yesterday, and he said, I know you can do this. Now, if you've ever been associated with Tom Hill, he had a way of making you do things you really didn't want to do. He still has me playing in music, and I didn't really feel I had any music ability, but he made me keep doing it. So if you'd all like to stand, I think the words are on the back of the program if you don't remember them. We won't go through stand up and cheer, but we'll certainly try the Westlake alma mater. So, high school days are forever dear, but Father Time takes his toll. Yet the memories will still be here as we strive towards our goal. So Westlake, while we are here, let's be friends firm and true. We'll all be faithful, dear alma mater.